I think most of us have experienced the epidemic of women running around claiming they're tens. And it's usually a certain personality type. I don't think that all women are doing this. But we're going to get into what I think is actually causing this, their mindset behind it, and the confusion behind a point rating system, like a grading system, and a statistical rating where you're standing within a population. Because they're two different things that I think are getting entangled together. And people are confusing a statistical rating where you're standing in terms of attractiveness in a population versus a grading scale, versus like getting a 10 out of 10 on a test or a 9 out of 10 on a test. Because we're taught in school that a 10 out of 10 is an A plus, a 9 out of 10 is an A minus, 8 out of 10 would be a B, 7 out of 10 would be a C, and so on and so forth. Not sure if they still do the grading system the same as when I was in school because I'm getting kind of old, but you guys get the gist of it. But when we're talking about a statistical rating system, a 5 out of 10 is average. But when we're talking about a grading system, a 5 out of 10 is a failing grade. So we're getting the two confused a lot of times. And I'm not trying to be mean, but it's usually the personality type that lacks critical thinking skills, to be honest. They're completely correlating grade test scores with statistical ratings, okay? So when you're talking about statistical ratings in terms of beauty standards, a 10 out of 10 would literally be the top 1% of the population. A 9 out of 10 would be the top 10% of the population. An 8 out of 10 would be the top 20% of the population, so on and so forth. And statistically, the top 20% of people in terms of beauty standards would be able to make a living off of their appearance, modeling, fashion, etc. At that point, when you're in the top 20% of beauty standards, you're able to monetize your beauty. Pretty much all these girls running around self-proclaiming themselves as tens wouldn't even make it past a modeling headshot interview. There's people that work for modeling agencies that are in charge of finding girls that are actually attractive. Not just attractive with makeup and filters, their actual bone structure, the ratios on their face. There's certain ratios that are just naturally attractive. And the majority of the time, the girls that are actually blessed with good genetics are humble about it because they almost feel bad in a way. Because they're singled out so much. They stand out everywhere they go. When you're literally in the top 10, 20% of beauty standards, you stand out everywhere you go. You're talking about literal models, guys. So it's insane when you rate a girl a 7 and she gets upset. They're confusing a point system, a grading system from school with a statistical rating for beauty standards that has to do with a population, not a grading system. They're completely different things. Most people are going to fall in the category of 4 to 6. That's just that, those are average people. Those are your everyday people. If you line up 100 people, most of them are going to be between 4s and 6s, guys. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think the huge misconception is that it's unacceptable for a girl to be average. But the majority of the population is average. That's kind of just how statistics work. But we have this mindset nowadays where everybody thinks they're this special flower and everybody thinks they're unique and amazing and no one can replace them and they're this perfect specimen, and it sounds insane. And I hate to be the person that throws around the cliche terms, but if you actually look at the textbook definition of a narcissist, not just throwing it at somebody because you don't like them or you want to insult them, it's having a false sense of inflated ego. So you have an inflated ego for no reason. And that's basically what these girls are doing. They're running around self-proclaiming themselves as tens. And if you reject their delusional reality, they get offended, they get emotional, and either insult you or try to end the conversation. There's no type of reality check for these girls. They're not living in reality. And part of the problem is all the simps online just reinforce their delusion because they're constantly getting flooded with notifications from guys online who don't actually interact with women in real life. A lot of you guys don't understand what it's actually like to be an attractive woman online. The kind of notifications they get, the kind of obsessed weirdos they'll have just feeding their ego constantly, guys. And most girls are realistic about it, understand the internet's not real. And these people don't interact with women like this in real life. They're just typing shit on their phone. But then there's a certain personality type that, like I said, they lack critical thinking skills. And they let the random messages, the random comments, the random people online who don't actually interact with people like that in real life get to their head and artificially inflate their ego. And then they think that they're this amazing person, even though their real life experiences don't line up with that. Like when you hit a 7, 7.5, most girls will get offended if you say they're a 7 and a 7.5. But that's going to be the most attractive girl basically anywhere you go. Unless you're in an environment that has a predominant amount of models, a 7 or a 7.5 is going to be the hottest girl pretty much anywhere you go. And a lot of people just aren't grasping that. They're not understanding how a statistical beauty standard is working versus a numerical grading system that we were raised on in school. They're completely different things, guys. I don't want to make this video too long though. If you got some value out of this video, make sure you share it so other people can get the same value that you got. Drop a comment down below if you have any questions or any video suggestions for the future. Hope you have a good, productive rest of your day. Go lift some heavy shit, and I will see you in the next video.